Hey, welcome back. We are back. We made it. The sunlight is looking a little different because the sun is setting, but, we're going to roll with it. So let's hope this looks all right, and I hope it sounds all right, but if it doesn't, sorry. What you going to do? So I've been keeping the results of the Golden Globes as much as I can out of my head, so now I get to react in real time. I already know one or two things, but let's see. Best Motion Picture, Hamnet. Okay, I didn't know this. I had got it spoiled. Best Motion Picture, Musical Comedy, One Battle After Another. Best Motion Picture, Animated, K-Pop Demon Hunters. It's gonna sweep, folks. It's gonna sweep. Unless they switch it up and, I don't know, do something crazy at the Oscars. Secret Agent. Wow, okay. Best Male Actor in a Motion Picture, Wagner Moura, Secret Agent. I like to see that. Jessie Buckley, Hamnet. I feel like she's just going to do this all season long. Best Motion. Timothée Chalamet in a musical or comedy. And then Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I Kicked You. I got to see that. It's playing sometime soon this month, so I'm going to try to check that out while it's back in theaters. Stellan Skarsgård, Sentimental Value, Best Supporting. He's pretty good in that. There's some really interesting moments in that movie. Some really interesting human niche moments that aliens, they'll never be able to get. Tiana Taylor, One Battle After Another. Best Director, Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. Okay. Best Screenplay, Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another. All right. Let me see if there's any notes. Okay. Best Original Score, Sinners. Man, Sinners, because Sinners, I think, did it at Critics' Choice, too. I really like the One Battle After Another. But, I haven't seen Sinners in a second, but Cinematic and Box Office Achievement, silly category, L category, weird category, but Sinners gets it. And honestly, I feel like I'm fine with that. Because let's see, how long have we done this now? Barbie, Wicked, and Sinners. And honestly, those are all kind of movies that I feel like I'm okay. It seems like it's a stupid category, and maybe 5-10 years ago, just weird shit would have been nominated or stuff that's okay, guys. But it's kind of well, these are kind of big deals. Like Barbie, Wicked, and Sinners are all maybe to varying degrees more cinematically lauded and appreciated and critically acclaimed. But it's okay, Sinners was a really big thing. Barbie was a really big thing. Wicked was a really big thing. I have different opinions on all those movies, and then Best Original Song, Golden. Okay, let's get into the TV. I'm a TV head. What can I say? Best Television Series, The Pit. Best Television Series, Musical or Comedy, The Studio. Limited Series, Adolescence. Okay. And then Ricky Gervais, Boo. And then Noah Weil, The Pit for Best Male Actor, and it's drama. Pluribus for drama, Seth Rogen for comedy, Gene Smart for comedy, Stephen Graham, Adolescence for Best Male Actor, Best Female Actor, Michelle Williams in Dying for Sex, I gotta watch it, Supporting Male Actor, Owen Cooper, Adolescence, and Aaron Doherty in Adolescence. Okay, all right. So Golden Globes, pretty par for the course. I think the biggest thing is, you see some interesting stuff like Stellan Skarsgård and Sentimental Value, Wagner Moura for Secret Agent. Man, if Wagner Moura got an Oscar nom, I'd be pretty happy. I need to watch that movie again, but I did like it. I did enjoy it. I was Brazil's cooking up some good movies these days, man. It's definitely getting a nom, right? So anyway, but let's talk a little bit about good old Adolescence. I did watch it this week. I did succeed in watching it, and here's kind of what I think about it. If you, and perhaps spoilers ahead as I get into this. All right, so Adolescence, limited series, 4 episodes. When a 13-year-old is accused of murder of a classmate, his family, therapist, and the detective in charge are all left asking what really happened. That's kind of, technically, it's one of those shows where technically that is what the plot is about, but that's not really the point. And then it's kind of a bit more interesting. One of the gimmick, if you want to call it that, or one of the elements of the show is that every episode is presented as a one take. So you really are sort of dropped into these events as they occur. And I will say sometimes that works better than other times. For some of these events, I would say, especially in episode 4, where it's the dad's birthday and following the family after this event, is it presents like kind of boring moments a bit more interesting, because you're just like a fly on the wall watching this happen. It's a bit more interesting than like if it was like just regular shot over shot, I'd be like falling asleep. But it really does I think work better whenever there's like a central conversation, like in in episode 1 and in episode 1 where the detective and all the police or whatever come and arrest him, and in episode 3 where he's talking to a therapist. There's like a central conversation or a central like piece of information that we're trying to like see what happens. Whereas in episode 2 where the detective goes to the school, in episode 4 where it's following the family like on the dad's birthday, there's less of like a narrative focus. It seems like so. It's just like it feels a little like, okay, what are we doing? What are we getting at? And it's harder to, because it's following these characters, and so it like only switches to a different character whenever they like walk into the scene, and you've been following one and then you switch and now you're following another. Is that it's kind of hard to like do some character development. Like episode 2 is a lot more about the detective and like his son and everything like that. And when it ended, I was like, this really felt like some shoot in like character moment or development or reveal. But it's because, I mean, spoiler, you don't get too much from them. You don't get anything from them the rest of the show. So that's kind of their arc. Like that's the end of their thing. And so it's like, okay, I guess it's an interesting premise or problem that you set up with yourself, because it's like, I have to complete an arc in sequence. I can't cut back to something or have it parallel with something that's going on at the same time with other characters or whatever. You kind of can chronologically, and sometimes that works out, but it made me be like, okay, I guess the episode ended with them. Was that what we're focusing on? But I think now in retrospect, having watched the whole series, it's like, oh, well, that was the end of their story. And so now I can think about like, and compare it to the other father and son. Because that's really what the show's about. The show's a lot more, it's about adolescence, and it's called Adolescence, and it touches on some different characters and some different types of characters, and women to some degree, women and girls to some degree. Especially, I think it's really interesting in episode 3 how it gets about that when he's talking to the therapist. I think that's really shows some of it, but it's central male focus. Which is not a bad thing. Like that's kind of what they're focusing on. So you just see that throughout the show. It's like, oh, okay. So it's talking about adolescence, but it's not really getting into like every aspect of it. And so it does make you ask, okay, great title, but is this about being a kid? And a little bit, I mean, it gets into a little bit of different things, but it could go much further into like trying to plumb into this idea of adolescence, trying to, it doesn't hit the depths of that. It kind of just scrapes the surface or gets deeper in some very particular ways, but it doesn't go, you're not going to know everything about what being a modern kid is today. You're going to know some elements through this traumatic experience or this traumatic event or intense event, but it stops at a certain point, and it covers this certain idea of a father and son relationship. It covers that a little bit more deeply, but it doesn't really get into every different aspect. So all that to say, I do think there are some really strong episodes in here. And it's not like my favorite thing in the world. I do really like some of it. Episode 1 and episode 3 are definitely the best. And I'm going to say the episodes with Jamie Miller in them, with Owen Cooper, are always better. Like his presence because he's the most interesting character here. And I feel like we kind of don't get as much from him. And like if it was a real event, it'd be like, well, I mean, I don't want to focus too much on like the bad guy or whatever, but even so, like if it was a kid, that would still be interesting. It'd be like, oh, what's going on there? But anyway, it's like he's definitely the most interesting thing to watch in the show. So whenever you don't see that, you're kind of like, well, let's get it back on him. And I don't know, maybe he's just like a really good actor. It's just interesting to me that Stephen Graham, the dad, is winning in supporting in lead, which he does quite well. He's got great screen presence. But but Owen Cooper, who's in supporting, who's like the point of the show, is in the supporting role, and it's like I wish I could have seen more of them. He's like barely in. I don't think he's in episode two at all, and he's barely in episode 4. And it's like half the show you're not even in, and I want to see more of you because I think you're an interesting character. So anyway, Adolescence. I think it's like a good 3.5. I'm glad that it's like getting so much hype because I think it is raising the bar of continuing to raise the bar, especially for Netflix with what they're doing with limited series. But I do think it's held back a little bit by the sort of procedure process choices that it makes with the one takes, and it feels like it doesn't quite capture what the title promises it might. And so I feel a little lacking there, but it's still very, very good. And also, now that Erin Doherty, we saw won Golden Globes, also won Critics' Choice Awards last week, she's really, really good in her episode. It's really just like season 1, like episode 1 is like really, really good as far as just like dropping into it and like revealing stuff. Like you don't even figure out, like, something's going on, but you don't even get noted like what specifically, how the person was killed until like 20 minutes in. I marked it. I was like, because you're just on the edge of your seat. And so it's really, really good at building that tension and building that suspense, or like using exposition as the suspense, which I think is a really interesting thing. Episode 1 is more of like the reveal, the story, getting into the everything, and then episode 3 is, I feel like, digging more into that, and 2 and 4 are important rounding out things about the story. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Adolescence. A little bit of yapping. I finally watched it, and let's move on, shall you? All right, let's pop over to Mr. Letterboxd and talk a little bit about what we saw this week. So I did watch, I've been working through the poster that I brought up last week. I watched 2, The Ring and The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, The Wolf of Wall Street I'd seen before, and I don't really have too much to say about that. It's just, what a bunch of bad people. I feel like my mom when I watch The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm like, these people are being mean to people, and they're being hedonistic, and I don't like it. It doesn't make me happy to see them. So, I know people are like, it's like, woo, like this is iconic, and this, I'm like, I just don't like that they're being so mean to each other. And I feel like my mom saying that, but it is what it is. I'm my mother's son. I am my mother's child. I also watched the Ring was on, and this was interesting because, can I see what I said about it? I really like the physical media, like, cause it's like in the 2000s. So they're trying to solve this case, and there's like all this, they're having to look at, like, obviously the Ring, you watch this video and then like you die 7 days later. The video they watch is on a VHS tape that they found like in a cabin in the woods. And so that's just funny. And then they have to go through all these like different documents and paperwork and everything like that. But I thought it was just going to be like scary and gory and stuff like that and a little excessive, but it was actually just kind of like a crime thriller, a big part of it, a mystery. And so I thought that was pretty fun. So it was better than I thought it was going to be. And also, I watched Black Barbie. This is a documentary, and because I'm trying to watch 52 documentaries this year, one for every week. And I was talking to my brother, and he sent me some recommendations, and this was one of them. And it was interesting. It was interesting to see it. I feel like it's it's talking about the presence and importance of the Black Barbie in the Barbie line and everything like that. And so I thought that it was an interesting to hear the different stories, to basically just hear from the people and the folks involved. And I agree with some people's criticisms of it, that I feel like I hate in a documentary when a director inserts themselves. It's not as bad as in some documentaries I've seen, but I'm like, let's just focus on the story. And I get that you're related to the story, and it's, maybe you have some insight as well, but it kind of, I feel like, doesn't seem like what a documentary is supposed to be. I feel like a documentary is supposed to be like, it kind of feels like a conflict of interest whenever you're in the documentary. So it always feels kind of weird to me. But and it's maybe a little long at parts, but I thought it was pretty interesting. it was interesting, interesting enough to see, and I think interesting to talk about. And I kind of wish I had gone a little more talking about those topics, but I thought it was a fair documentary. So that's one down. One thing with this poster is, as I was thinking about, because I'm trying to understand the poster a little bit. I talked about it in last week's video. Is what's the deal with this poster? What is it? Is it targeting? One thing that the Ring made me think of that's not on the poster is the Blair Witch Project. If you're talking about like, because it seems to have this focus on like 2000s media in a big way, is why is the Blair Witch Project not on there? It seems to care a lot about horror and early 2000s media or mid 2000s media. Why is the Blair Witch Project not in there? So interesting poster. Wrapping up for media notes, for TV shows and stuff, I finished Smiling Friends. I love that Glep app, quite good. And then, I watched Adolescence, and I listened to a good amount of music. Some of these, I think Grace Ives, I listened to some of her little mini EP singles. I listened to that. I listened to This Is It by The Strokes for the first time this week. And it's fine. Okay, let me put this down for a second. Why is This Is It important? Why is This Is It by The Strokes important? Because it seemed like fine, but I didn't really get what the point was. In part because it sparked a garage rock revival in the early 2000s. Okay, so it was influential because it seemed fine, but a lot of the songs sound the same. Am I bad for that? Am I wrong for that? It's got some good songs on it. Like don't get me wrong, but Alone Together, I like that one. But I feel like there's a few songs where I'm like, oh, wait, is it repeating? So anyway, that just a little note on that. No books again. I've got a book club that I have tomorrow, so I got to read a book before then. So, and movies you saw, and yeah. So, where are we going for next week? Do I have any media goals? I might take a break as far as I need to catch up on limited series and movies. There's always stuff to catch up on. But I'll probably the biggest media goal I'll put on myself is for the next week is I need to watch another documentary, and I need to go watch a movie in theaters. So I'm gonna try to go do that, and I'll keep you posted what I end up watching. And but I might not do a longer video on media thoughts next week, like this, because I want to do a more scripted video. So stay tuned for that because I might be working on that. But yeah, I think that's about it. One way or the other, I'll probably see you next week. All right, bye.